Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 5 of our Disney Vacation Club 7 Resorts in 7 Week series. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends Sean Falk.
Hi.
Jackie Gailey.
Hi there.
Steve Porter.
Hello.
And back in the production nook, our associate producer, Mr. Corey Fiasconaro.
Welcome home.
And this week, we are going to talk about Polynesian Villas, another very popular DVC resort. And before we get into any of the details, here's a look at the Polynesian. Okay, so let's start out with some of the facts and figures. First opened in 2015, so this is still a relatively young resort. Jackie, what do you think the opening sale price was per point?
I think it was like 115.
115. Sean, what do you think?
2015. I'd say 135.
135 Fiasco?
152.
140.
Well, Fiasco was closest. Again, 160. The opening sale price for Polynesian. I remember when this went on sale and they announced it would be at 160 and people were like, oh my God. And current sale price, if you go direct to Disney, $235 a point on the resale market from DVCstore.com. You can find these for between 146 and 155 a point. So still below what you paid
4 years ago.
4
at
years
this
ago.
point, yeah.
But Sean, tell them how they can get text alerts if they want to know about contracts that come available.
Yeah, if you'd like to know more about Polynesian Contracts, you can text Polynesian to 888-111, and you will be signed up for text alerts. You will need to follow the link that's on there to fill out your information and let me know which use years that you would like to incorporate in. If you don't have a preference and you just really want Polynesian, then you can put no preference and you will get every single Polynesian update that I can give you with that. So any contracts that come through, you'll get them regardless of how or when the month is. When the use year is, sorry.
Now, these contracts expire in 2066, so you got a while.
Yeah.
Total of 386 rooms located, I believe, between two longhouses. They converted two longhouses to DVC rooms. These are the largest studios, I believe, you will find on of any DVC resort. That's because the Polynesian was originally opened in 1971 when hotel rooms were 447 square feet, which is the size of these studios. And that's all they have are studios and bungalows. There are 366 studios at 447 square feet, and then 20 bungalows at just under 1,100 square feet. The bungalows are 2 bedrooms. They sit out over the water. They're called the Bora Bora bungalows, all with direct views of the Magic Kingdom and, of course, the nightly fireworks. So it's quite a location. But again, rooms at the Polynesian, difficult to get if you don't own there. Not impossible. Not impossible. I was able to get one, for one night at least, with very little notice. I got this a month before we actually did the stay, and Fiasco and his wife were actually the ones who stayed that night. But so I'm happy to say we were not flagged on this one. If we were, they're awful. Okay, if they knew we were there, not that it was bad, but I will tell you that, like, at check-in, you check in the main lobby of the Polynesian. There's no DVC quote unquote DVC lobby for this property. And the best thing I can say about the cast member that checked me in was she was very efficient. There was nothing magical about this cast member. There was nothing particularly friendly about this cast member. But she got the job done. We got there fairly early in the day, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And the room did not become available until just before 4 o'clock. So we don't ding them for that because check-in is at 4. We ding them if it goes after 4 o'clock, but not before. And there was only one resort, and we'll get to that one in a couple weeks, that did not have the room ready in time. I will tell you, I love these rooms. These studios are. It was absolutely gorgeous. I got to be honest. It was. You stayed. What did you think?
Yeah. So out of all the DVC studios that I've seen now, which is a lot of them, I want to say most of them. I've only stayed in a few, but I've seen most of them. This was the nicest studio. You got the double bathroom, and the one bathroom with the waterfall shower, which I know a few different resorts do have these waterfall showers. This one's the nicest looking one. The room itself is beautiful, super appealing to my tastes. And like we had the Magic Kingdom view, that view of the fireworks is amazing. It's unbeatable. However, I do wish they piped in the Happily Ever music. I'm hearing that you can actually tune into it on your TV. I couldn't figure out how, and we were talking to Pete Shidley. He said he couldn't figure out how at one point too. But there is that. And then also I will mention, while I'm saying right now this is the nicest DVC studio I've ever seen, the bed was not the most comfortable bed I've ever slept in a DVC stay before. The bed was a little too firm.
Oh, it's a queen size bed.
Yes.
And then there is I believe a queen size pullout.
Yep.
There in the room. You talked about the split bathroom. There are 2 showers in this. You have a tub and shower in one and a walk-in shower in the other. I love that design. I think it makes getting ready in the morning so much easier for people that you have 2 showers to work with, and you've got that tub if you have little ones. And I love the fact that room service includes ordering from Ohana.
Yeah.
And so that you can eat your meal at the pace you want to and not be
rushed out.
We still hear reports of people from being seated to getting their check at 35 minutes at Ohana.
Should I say something about that?
Sure.
Yeah, so Pete mentioned this on a show earlier when we were talking about Ohana. But I wasn't there to personally express my experience. Now, this experience I had was months ago. It didn't take place at the same time as our DVC stay. But basically, we had a later reservation. It was around the time of the fireworks. But we got there and we got seated, and it literally took like 30 minutes to go by before anybody acknowledged us at all for drinks or anything. And then when they finally did, the waiter's first thing that he said was, "You're at my last table and I can't wait to get out of here." And I was like, "Oh, okay. That's a little weird, but I like maybe he's just like treating me like a buddy, and that's fine. Whatever." But then as the night progressively went on, like the appetizers came out, and then before we're even done putting the food from our appetizer to our plate, here comes the waiter again with just all the skewers of meat. He's got the chicken, he's got the steak, he's got the shrimp, and he just starts piling them onto. It doesn't look very appetizing at all. They're just getting piled onto my plate, and then he ended up dropping. And like I'm somebody that gets anxiety, and I'm not trying to like pull some sort of anxiety card, but he dropped a piece of chicken onto the table, and then like was like, "Oh, let me get that," and then like made some like frantic gestures and then walked away. I never saw that waiter for the rest of the night. Another waiter came over, and like I wasn't like confronting him at all. I was just like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure," but I wasn't like being aggressive or confronting. But like I never saw that guy again. Like another waiter came over, and it was a mess. And then dessert came out soon after that, but it was just one of those experiences, like Pete was saying, and I'm echoing. We were really rushed through our meal. I would rather like I like to like be relax when I'm eating, and I would just rather that franticness to just not come off in my service, but.
So, yeah, I mean, this is a common problem with Ohana. We've talked about it for a while. Other dining options there is also the focus of our dining review for this week is Kona Cafe, and which has gone through ups and downs in its tenure. And then, of course, you have Captain Cook's, the quick service, which, I'll be honest, I really think... Of the resorts, my favorite quick service.
Oh, yeah, God.
My favorite quick service. The food is fantastic. Those coconut meatballs, those Thai coconut meatballs are just absurd how good they are.
I actually think the food there at their quick service is better than at Kona Cafe, the sit-down restaurant. So I would personally, I'd rather eat there and get the wings and get the coconut meatballs and stuff than my meal. Not to spoiler alert there, but like then Kona Cafe is not bad. I just think the other thing is a very great mix of stuff, and it's a really great price by comparison. So yeah, I mean the quick service there is you can't beat it.
And as far as the room goes, as far as that studio goes, arguably that's the nicest studio I've seen of any of the DVC resorts. Mm-hmm. At least at Walt Disney World. I think the ones in Aulani are pretty amazing.
Oh yeah. I don't know if it. I start by saying I love the Polynesian Resort. I think it's great. It is difficult when I actually stayed at Aulani before I ever stayed at the Polynesian, I believe. Or they were very
that's
similar.
a tough one.
So it was hard to backtrack from going to Aulani and going to the real thing, and then now I've gone back to Polynesian. It's still great. It's still phenomenal, and the rooms was great and everything they're talking about. But when we're discussing buying into Polynesian, there's a whole other layer that's a little problematic, and it's too problematic for me. And actually, Polynesian is the last one that I personally am interested in purchasing into because they only have the deluxe studios, and then the next jump is bungalows. I just think it's too drastic of a jump for me to want to do that. The bungalows, I mean, the studios are going to sleep 5. And then your next option is like 100 people. So like with the bungalows, it's like, what is it, 12? I think.
No, I believe they sleep 8 or 9.
So it's like this massive leap. But by comparison, compared to like a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom, and with DVC contracts, like when you're looking into them, essentially like if a resort as a whole, like let's say it has 100,000 total points for the year, if one area goes up, the other area has to come down. And if bungalows aren't necessarily booking over time because of how expensive they are compared to the deluxes, and Disney needs to come down on those points. They have to go up on the deluxes in order to balance that scale, and that's just how DVC works. And I just think that's too big of a risk for me personally. I don't want to see my points per night go up higher to accommodate for this bungalow situation that like people can't afford the bungalow.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, essentially, if you're not interested in getting the bungalow because it's just too many points, you only have that one option.
Yeah, and I prefer one-bedroom units. I bought my points around staying in one-bedroom units. Obviously, they don't have those there. So this would not be for that reason, this would not be my first choice. But if I was going to stay in a studio, I'd want to stay in that.
Oh, yeah.
At the Poly. And to Sean's point about the comparison to Aulani, Aulani is authentic Hawaii. Polynesian is more of a caricature of Hawaii. It's inspired by. Whereas the effort that was put into Aulani to be authentic was extraordinary. And I love the Polynesian. It's beautiful. The volcano pool is really cool and very popular, especially because you have that from the pool. You have that view of the castle, pretty much. Great location to watch the fireworks, either from the beach. It has the nicest concierge lounge, hotel-wise. Obviously, it's not available on the DVC side, but it's a 2-story concierge lounge. Concierge service I didn't think was particularly good the last time I was there. The food was okay in the lounge, but you have this incredible view of the fireworks, and the lounge itself is a very nice.
So are there DVC rooms that face the other way too on the one strip that?
Yes.
So they don't.
You have like a garden view and what they call a lake view, but the lake view is, at least in our case, I don't know if this is true of all of them, but the lake view in our case,
Is that a theme park?
I don't know what other lake they could be overlooking. And that if you have a view over Bay Lake or Seven Seas Lagoon, you're looking at the castle. That room had a gorgeous view.
Oh yeah, it was probably one of the better views you could possibly get. Like you were directly in front of the bungalows, and then the way our window was is if you walked out into the balcony, you'd be seeing in between two of the bungalows directly at the castle. It was perfect.
And a theme park view room at the Poly, and you consider these are the same size, roughly, as the Poly rooms, but they're better appointed. They have the microwave, they have the coffee maker, they have the split bathroom design, the mini cooler. You're talking easily $700-800 a night for a theme park view room. At the Poly, you go to concierge, and now that number's $1,000 to $1,100 a night for that.
I wonder, is it also a lake view if you're on the first floor? Because then you're just seeing the bungalows. I wonder if that's why they say lake view. Because if you get the first floor, then you don't see the castle because you have all the bungalows in front of you.
True.
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 Yeah, but I think that kind of stuff is the main thing to think about because it is such. I mean, everyone I've talked to that's buying DVC, especially right now, they're doing tons of research before they buy in, and a lot of times, I mean, even people that are watching this now, if your interest has been picking which resort do I want to buy into, it is so easy to come through and just be like, hey, I love the Polynesian. It's on the monorail. It's a great resort. I've stayed there, all that kind of stuff. But if you're not already a DVC member or somebody who's very in that world at this point, like I've become, you don't even know those things of like, that this is the point scale for the year, and what goes up must come down somewhere else as far as how that system works. And that is something to consider with all resorts depending on what fits your needs, but specifically with the Polynesian, because they only have deluxe studios and bungalows, you really have to consider the future and consider what you plan to do.
So just looking at a theme park view room in January, right? $714 a night is what you're looking at. A lagoon view, $629 a night. So even if it's not a theme park view, if you're just getting a view of the bungalows, you're still talking about $600-700 a night, and that's in January. But again, the problem here is that Poly's popular. People want those rooms. They're all studios, and studios get snapped up like that because, per night, the number of points is less than if you're getting a one-bedroom or something like that. So Poly's another one. I'm looking right now, 7 months out, and availability is tough.
Yep.
Is really, really tough. So this is another argument where buy where you want to stay, because that 11-month booking window for the Poly is the difference between staying there and not. Like I said, you can get lucky, you can get some rooms, but overall, you really, at the Poly, you want to own there if you want to stay there. Let's talk about the grounds. We stopped in at Trader Sam's. Now, my first exposure to Trader Sam's is the original, out in California, and out at the Disneyland Hotel. Mm-hmm. And what they tried to do was expand on that. So the actual bar inside is much larger than the one out in Disneyland, seats more people. The deck outside is much larger and seats more people. But gone is all the charm. First of all, every drink you order, it was just there were certain drinks out in Disneyland. There were certain drinks that if you're sitting in the bar, if you order, they set off like an alarm, and like the volcano blows and all this other stuff. Every damn drink you order at this one sets off something else. So you're trying to talk to the people around you, and every 5 minutes...
It's like a circus.
It's like a circus. And it's like, you're trying too hard, stop it. And I often make this comparison between World and Land, that Disneyland is like the cool kid, and Disney World is the nerdy kid that's trying to keep up. And so, I can do that too, but you overdo it. And you lose the charm of the original in it. So like I said, every drink there was something else, and I was like, oh, come on already. We're waiting for a room. We're like, come on.
And I agree with the sentiment of it becomes a lot after a while. And it just depends on what you're wanting to do as far as Trader Sam's goes. I like the one in Disney World better than Disneyland.
Really?
I think the one in Disneyland's boring. They nothing happens. It's just like a bar or whatever. Because there's
You've been inside?
I have, but it's so congested. You can't
It's very
get a
small.
seat. You can't do anything. And so the other one, the one in Disney World, they limit it, and you get to the door and they're like, okay, this is how many people we're letting in. It's very regulated on how many they can have in there at a time. And it is a little obnoxious after a while. It's cool to see one of each drink get ordered. But then after they've been ordered 5 times, you're like, okay, here they come. So
You know what? They're probably encouraging people to not stay as long.
Possibly, yeah.
It certainly worked for me, because I couldn't wait to get out of there.
Go. I liked it, and that's why I go. Whenever I take friends that are visiting town, I'm like, we have to go here because it's crazy and they're yelling stuff. Whereas and it's the same. When I go to downtown Orlando, I go to the Christmas bar, and I go to, because it's Christmas all the time. And so that kind of thing. So I like those themed kind of places like that. So I don't mind the theme.
I like Disneyland's Trader Sam's better, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure if I like it better because I genuinely like it better, or if because it's my vacation Trader Sam's and the special Trader Sam's. Now I don't know.
I like it better because it's cool. It's just a cool place to hang out. It's a nice place to meet your friends, hang out on that deck. I'm always out on the deck. I'm never inside.
I do like the drinks better at the one in Disneyland. I don't like the drinks at all at the one at Disney World. I don't really think there's any of the drinks that are particularly good.
I also think because out in Disneyland I don't want to get into a whole thing on Trader Sam's, but the one in, they're using food from Tangaroa Terrace, so they've got a lot of great bites and snacks, where this one doesn't really have that.
They have bites and snacks, but they're not
good.
Yeah.
But overall, I gave it a rating of 8.7 for this one. We weren't flagged, so I was able to do this. The check-in experience, I gave a 7 to. Like I said, perfectly efficient, not an ounce of magic in the woman. Overall condition of room 9.5. This room was fantastic. It was absolutely immaculate. It was in great condition. Friendliness of cast 7. Again, it wasn't, nobody was rude, but nobody was particularly great either. It was just kind of okay. Amenities and common areas, I gave it a 9. Again, that lobby is I love that lobby. It was a great way to get welcomed on your vacation. I think Boutique, the store in the lobby, is one of my favorite places to go and shop. A lot of cool things in there. I do generally like the dining between Captain Cook's. You'll see our thoughts on Kona Cafe this week. Ohana, when there's not a gun to my head, hurry up. I think the grounds are gorgeous and really well kept, so I don't feel bad giving it an 8.7. I would just say that lower your expectations for cast interaction. I will also mention that the general manager of the Grand Floridian is also the general manager of the Polynesian, and I'm kind of seeing a theme there.
I do.
In terms of cast members that, like I said, when we did Wilderness Lodge, it was night and day. So I know that deluxe resorts can have phenomenal cast members. It's just the ones being run by this clown don't seem to be able to do it.
I wonder also if your check-in experience, like say your Magic Band hadn't worked at the Poly, I wonder how that would have gone. You know, because yes, she got everything done efficiently, and there's nothing negative to say about her. But it also sounds like nothing really, there was no problem. Like sometimes, like with Wilderness Lodge, there was a problem, but they recovered with it so well that it actually became a positive thing.
Which is what really will happen when something goes wrong. It's not that something goes wrong, it's how it's handled. And I said this in the Grand Floridian review. Had they handled it the way a deluxe, not just a deluxe resort, but your flagship resort should have handled it, that review would have been entirely different. But instead, they just kept compounding the issue with attitude, and that literally coming out and saying, "What do you want?"
Yeah.
You know, they literally came out and said, "What is it you want, sir?" "I want to get into my damn room."
Yeah.
That's what I want. I'm not looking for. They try, offering me free meal, and of course they want to throw you free fast passes. Like, I'm not going into the parks, so you're not going to get away with using free fast passes in place of good customer service. But I don't want to go into a whole thing on that. Go watch my Grand Floridian review. But so the room's definitely the star of the show at the Poly for me. So 8.7 overall is my rating for the Polynesian Villas, and that will do it for this week's episode of our DVC 7 and 7 show. Next week, the OG of DVC, Old Key West. And we'll see you then.